What's up, my movers and shakers? I'm Dave, this is MS Paints, and this is everything the Warhammers and the not Warhammers that I painted in 2025. Yeah, so I thought I'd do a year-end roundup of everything that I made this year, model-wise. Everything from Warhammer to scale models to Gundam to reviewing tabletop war games, and we're even going to talk about a little bit about the Halloween madness that we did. And between you and me, I've had this flu thing that's going around, and I've had a migraine for going on like 10 days now, on and off. And I'm getting there. So we are going to just look back at everything that I did, everything that I made, starting with January this year. We started the year off with a pretty ludicrous diorama video. Yeah, the Gundam RX-78 hangar bay piece. Probably, at the time, one of my favourite things that I'd ever done. Sadly, now it's gone to the grave. How did that happen? I mean, I love my cat. He's great. I debated throwing him out on the street after he broke the diorama, but I've learned to forgive. I have not learned how to forget. This video, I got to collaborate with Dafith Roach? I'm never going to get that right. From Terraintronics, who came along, brought some of his Terraintronics toys, taught me about making a frame mock-up so that we could rig temp electronics. Then we did some slightly more advanced stuff like programming patterns into the lights to do random things, and he was just a treat to work with into the night, to be honest. And the diorama, yeah, it turned out really nice, fully self-illuminating, super stylish, and yeah, just a joy to put together in the few days that I spent on it. Really, really nice kinetic energy to the workflow. And it was one of the few projects that I had the headspace and the time to just sit down, sit back and think, okay, what is every process of this? I didn't write anything down like I should have done. But it was very much, this is that, I will make this with that. I have these sat on my hard drive from Modiphius. I'm going to 3D print those. I'm going to use those as a doorway, barrels. Where do I get these figures from? These guys will do this paint first, this paint second. Use this specific paint because it makes it look like concrete very quickly. Yeah, it was a nice flow state, I think, a nice flow state. The whole project was just sadly broken by the cat. Sadly, looking back in hindsight, I don't think I had as much faith in just doing a Gundam diorama video and presenting it as I would have, I probably should have done. So I did a token dickhead thumbnail, which I hate doing those. I hate doing dickhead thumbnails. But it does get the clicks. People really like to watch someone apparently just not do something right, which from the industry I come from, if you don't do something right, you are not coming back. Yeah, but YouTube's YouTube, I guess. And I then probably in the last minute or two of the video turned it into a bit of a work shoot piece, because my YouTube dashboard for like 3 months was just full of Golden Demon drama from that year, from like 2024 or whatever it was, and it was still lingering around at that time. And I was possibly mildly irritated by all of that stuff. And I did a little bit of a work shoot in the video and didn't say any names directly, but I hinted at some potential feelings that I shouldn't have hinted at, and now I'm addressing the allegations. Yeah, so I don't think anyone cared, because I know that YouTube comments absolutely love it when the chimpanzees start flinging shit at each other. But like, yeah, I think the viewers that probably thought a little higher of me, I should probably apologize to those. And I would also like to apologize to the content creators that feel that I may have been targeting them somewhat. I don't know how I can make it up to you. Or I could get Health and Safety Frog to go to Marks and Spencer and do a nice little snack basket like Savories or something like that. Yeah. He's got an M&S voucher from his nan this year, so we can use it for that. Did I do anything else in 2025? The Blade Runner Spinner. Yeah, this was another scale model project, hot off the back of the last one. I found this model kit in kind of like a second-hand shop, I guess a junk shop in Japan for £7. Blade Runner was a big part of like my formative teenage years, and as part of diversifying the channel even more, I wanted to take a swing at that. And I leaned into a more like ambient style with how I had filmed and edited the video. It's not a style that I went back to, sadly. Just kind of putting some ambient noise on in the background. Just taking more time with shots, just letting it run, and letting the whole video kind of breathe a bit more. I mean, I'm pretty slow paced anyway, but this was kind of next level. More importantly, I learned a lot of stuff doing it. Yeah, the sponge work, the weathering pencils, the little decal gadget that I found in a toy shop in Osaka, which I think is one of the best £3 worth that I've ever spent. Oh ho ho! Zeogenesis. Yeah, this was an interesting little three-part that we did. It was like an introduction to the miniatures from the new game by Andy Chambers and Gav Thorpe. And then like a breakdown of how the whole game worked. I remember being pretty excited because it was that hot combo of skirmish gameplay with a strong 90s mech anime aesthetic that I grew up on and is very dear to me. And then we followed that with like a little explainer that talked through how the game works and what I thought about it, and you know, whether it was fun or not. And yeah, it was fun. And I think I played 3 or 4 games of it eventually this year. It was kind of a semi-rare case of me not having enough time to play the game thoroughly before I talked about it and passed judgment on it, and I did talk about that in the video. But that's kind of like the whole YouTuber thing for a lot of product reviews, unless it's been out like 40 years, is it usually goes that client will see if you're interested, you'll say yes. Client will say, we'll get back to you as soon as we can send you something, okay? And they'll send you something and it arrives, they say, okay, has it arrived? When can you do a video? And they're like, well, it took me about 2 weeks. Cool, yeah, the Kickstarter started last week. So if you could do that in 2 days, that would be great. So most of us don't actually have the time to ingest, digest, and what comes after digestion properly with these products. And we also get paid to put a positive slant on things. So it's, for me, being a very nuts and bolts person, I guess nuts and bolts is the term, asking me to do a positive review on some. I mean, these guys didn't ask me to do a positive review. They just asked me to talk about a game. But for a lot of stuff, you get it and you think, cool. So I'm gonna have to lie a little bit here. But that is modern YouTube, and that is kind of what is to be expected. So yeah, fair enough. Of course, that is the opposite of like the Halo Flashpoint video that I did at the end of 2024, where I got to play like 45 games of it and then review it. And that series did culminate in me and Michael Chumpchange actually sitting down and having a chat with Gav Thorpe and Andy Chambers to talk through their inspirations and share some of their old Games Workshop stories, which was just a bit lovely. The Crystal Collapse Board. Fuck yeah, this game system was like a hidden gem from this year. Me and Connor-chan, who I normally play, you know, Final Fantasy TCG and Yu-Gi-Oh with, we played the shit out of this for a couple of months. And I'm actually photographing this board today for some stills to go in the new edition of the rulebook, which is pretty sick. Yeah, I mean, I love building boards. Generally, people on YouTube love watching board builds. It was nice to make a board where everything on it wasn't trashed or ruined or messed up in some way. It was a bright and airy green fields board that, you know, due to the game mechanics of Crystal Collapse, requires a grid on it, which is a whole new set of challenges for me. It's also the perfect size board for carrying around, look. Look, you just put a handle on it. It's not a 2x2. 2x2s can drag on the ground. Yeah, it's just spot on. Look at that. Fuck the underside of that. God knows what I've done to that. You're never going to see that. And of course, it is very, very Final Fantasy Tactics inspired, which is just great for me. So both mechanically and aesthetically, it is very tactical JRPG. Yeah, it's a great game. I love the minis so much that I actually ended up getting Dan Kelly, who sculpted these minis, to sculpt the minis for my upcoming tabletop game as well. Yeah, if you haven't heard of Crystal Collapse before, get on that, check out a link down below, because it is such a rare treat of a game. Mijos Elegendes. Myths and Legends. Fucking hell. Yeah, I do enjoy covering like dead CCGs that are just weird and wonderful and didn't last more than 5 minutes. Yeah, like I have been very lucky on eBays over the years, and I'm just kind of drowning in old sealed product. Yeah, Myths and Legends was the English language version of a Chilean card game, which I'm told is still going, but this version, the English language version, died off after about 4 or 5 releases. It is a totally acceptable little battler game. Me and Connor Chan played a few games, did the video on it. Yeah, then with some successive games, we found out that the game was pretty much broken beyond repair. Because there's so many cards, backbench cards, that are resource burners, resource drainers, and force your opponent to burn their hand only after they've drawn a card at the start of their turn, which means if your opponent is drawing a card, and that's the only card in their hand, they then immediately have to discard it. Then they have to sit there with no resources, no way of drawing cards, and basically just have to spend the next 15 turns getting pummeled. So it's fun enough as a curiosity, but it really does feel like if Magic can do it, we can do it too. I'm sure the new game is good because it's still going, but yeah. But yeah, don't worry, I only do a weird dead CCG video now and again because the pool is small. In fact, no, it's not small. The pool of obtainability in the UK is smaller than it is in the US, so I'm taking my time with it. But I do really want to talk about MetaZoo one day, because the more I look at MetaZoo, the more I Google MetaZoo, the more weird stuff comes up. Everything but telling me what the game actually is comes up, and it is going to be just so baffling to talk about that game. In May, I started and finished a Stormcast army. I can't remember when it was, but this video was like a direct response to the chimp enclosure shit flinging that went on around Games Workshop discontinuing support for a load of Stormcast units in Age of Sigmar. And the point of the video was that due to knee-jerk reactions, the second-hand market just got flooded with these retired models that no one was apparently interested in anymore. It was like fucking Cursed Earth shit. And so I got like 3,000 points of Stormcast for £40. Like, I know it's not, like, I know it's Stormcast and I know that that's not everyone's bag, but also it is 3,000 points of Warhammer for 40 quid. Of course, the actual real reason that I did do it was because I wanted to sit and paint some Stormcast over the bank holiday weekend that was coming up. Yeah, just basic bastard golden blue style, like the Warhammer equivalent of a Hellfire Club t-shirt. I just wanted to do it, and I had a blast doing it. And these guys have gone on to enjoy many victories of one-page rules, and yeah, it did kind of give me the bug for speed painting armies, which is a topic we shall be coming back to very shortly-ish. Battlefleet Gothic, yeah, big boys time now. This was sent to me by Top Ewok Keros 2032 over on the patrons. Yeah, this was this was an intimidating video to do, partly because yes, it's a box set of Battlefleet Gothic, but also because it was sealed. As a collector of old TAT and retro video games, the general rule is if it's sealed, brother, leave it sealed. Like, I remember being in CEX once and someone was trading in PS2 games next to me, and like, because of CEX rules, they have to check that the game is in the box and the disc isn't scratched. So they were just unsealing PS2 games in front of me, and by the time I looked, it was too fucking late. Oh, you're just going to unseal Drakengard 1 and 2 in front of me, like right in front of me. But I suppose you go to Amsterdam and pay for that kind of humiliation, wouldn't you do? So at least that was free. Yeah, it's hair-raising stuff. Just kind of devaluing a product by 200 quid by opening it was a stiff session on the toilet. So me and Tony had some fun with that. Yeah, I did the full works in the video. You know, I painted the models up. I went through everything in the box. I made a space battle map from scratch. And I made some cool nebulas for terrain. I even made some janky little planets. Yeah, definitely one of the year's highlights, I think. UK Games Expo. Technically I didn't make anything here, but you know, whatever. This was a fun little weekend. Yeah, I bought some stuff, I had a good time, but most importantly, I got to hang out with my mates. Got to do a meet and greet with Transatlantis Games, got to meet a lot of fans, Health and Safety Frog fans specifically, and it's always nice to meet channel supporters and patrons in person. It's nice to put, you know, usernames to faces or faces to usernames. And as like a quiet ritual between you all, you must have a secret Discord within the Discord somewhere. But you always like to talk to me like we've never talked before. And we'll talk for like 10 minutes. And then you'll bring something up. I'm like, hang on a minute, are you... I know... Like, oh, you're that guy we spent 3 hours talking about X-Files lore. Okay, right. You could have led with that. Yeah, you could have told me that. And now I'm just awkwardly stood there like a twat saying, so what's on your painting bench at the minute? No, we could have skipped to like how Scully's dog changes breed from episode to episode. We could have talked about that, man. R.I.P. Queequeg. But I also got to meet industry peoples and fellow makers of images that move. I also got set up with Steamforged Games at a networking event, which was nice. Don't know if I can put any of that footage on this channel, because I technically did it for them, but I ended up going over to their HQ and doing quite a few little promo pieces last year. That was nice to just film something that wasn't mine, film things that were well painted. That was good. I will be there in 2026 with my own stand. Well, not my own stand. I'm sharing with Big John Hayland. We've got a nice big pitch somewhere in the middle. He tells me it's somewhere important and impressive, and there's like eye line to toilets as well. That's most important. He told me it was because he wanted to like share the booth cost, but between you and me, guys, I think it's so we can man each other's stall while we go for fag breaks. But that's between you and me. That's between the squirrel friends, mate. Okay. And I will hopefully have demo and product of our new tabletop game that will be out by then. I have so much to do. Introduction to GRIMDARK painting. Yeah, no, speaking of burnout and exhaustion, let's not talk about that one. Fuck me. I teamed up with Steamforged Games to review their P3 line of paints. Well, the reboot of the Privateer Press Mike McVeigh paints that some of you might be familiar with from the early 2000s. Yeah, I had a great time with that one. I'd just done some promotional filming for Steamforged, and then we came to an agreement on a video. And I walked out of there with like 110 paints and a big red dragon to paint for the video. And part of the reason I enjoyed it so much, but was also very intimidated by it, was because P3 is quite a unique paint in a lot of ways. Like, it was originally designed at a time when your main hobby paints that weren't dog shit were Citadel paints. And because the market hadn't kind of moved into a series of escalation of quality product, you know, the grind that we have now, where nearly everything that comes out has to match a GW color. I don't know why. As soon as you move it into a different room with different lights from the one you painted it in, it's a different color. But like, whatever. But these paints were complete mold breakers. Like, the shade didn't match. The consistency was completely different. The way they were designed was intentionally different. And you ended up with an acrylic body paint that almost behaves like oil paint to a degree. That's possibly being slightly generous, but that is what it was intended to be, I believe. So you've got lower opacity, but you do have a shitload of blending time. Like, most of my go-to paints are basically very similar to each other and behave in similar ways. But having to exclusively use this stuff for a video was a real eye-opener to what, you know, different acrylics and ideas really felt like. And it also got me back into airbrushing. Like, I got to the point in the painting where I was like, well, I need to check how this paint airbrushes, so I'll go do that. Okay, this is really fucking fast and useful. And I just didn't put the airbrush down. I did that whole dragon in like 9 hours. It was so good. And now I'm kind of not scared about wheeling the airbrush out on camera anymore. The cliche amongst us in our super secret content creators Discord is every time you whip an airbrush out on camera, your viewer retention curve just fucking drastically drops. And it is completely true. But also, if I can do a dragon in 9 hours with what with a brush would probably have taken me about 24 hours, I'm kind of okay with getting those 14 hours back and losing a chunk of change. You know, yeah, give you 20 quid if I can bash you on the hand with a hammer for 10 minutes, or you can just have 10 quid for free. I'll take the tenner. Covering BRICKSKRIEG. Yep, enjoyed that. That's a fun, not Lego war game where all the models are made of not Lego. I still play that now and again with some modified rules to make the game a little bit more thematic and a little bit more functional, I guess. It's still a great product, but I've kind of just added a smidge to the rules. Yeah, it's a really nice vibe considering that World War II stuff can be a little bit iffy. Everything kind of goes away when you make it out of Lego, and you can, when the little men die, you can just pull their heads off and stuff and just scatter bits all over the table. Suddenly all the moral dilemmas of who you're playing in a World War II game suddenly fucking evaporate in a little cloud of plastic bricks. Yeah, and I think I lost a few followers on that one. I made some kind of off-the-cuff comments about my personal experience with what I'd experienced in trying to break into local historical wargaming groups, and I mentioned some of them were difficult people. But that's how it is. Sometimes you say things that, you know, people don't like, and then they unfollow you, and you know, they feel betrayed that, you know, they've consumed your videos for free for 5 years and suddenly you have a difference of opinion and then they leave. So crazy opinions like, you know, women are good. Yeah, if you ever want to get into YouTube, just be careful, because you got to walk that fine tightrope between not saying anything that can rile people up, but also being true and honest and speaking your mind so that people actually like you in the first place. That's some fun shit, man. Sandland Tank, yeah, here we go. This felt like a little mini sequel to my Blade Runner car video, using stuff that I learned from there to come back and improve on the techniques. It was also a great opportunity to wax lyrical about my love of Japanese animated tank designs. Very specific, but there are a lot of Japanese animated tanks. Yeah, really fun project. It is a Bandai kit, so the whole thing is friction fitted, which means there's not a drop of glue on this thing anywhere, but it holds together better than pretty much any of the things that I've also glued together. The diorama base was lovely. I got introduced to teddy bear stuffing with the BATTLEFLEET GOTHIC video, and with the Sandland Tank I used what I'd learned, brought the same material back and used it as dust trails behind the tank, which ended up as like a really cute sort of asymmetric diorama. Yeah, I just love the amount of character and movement that this thing ended up having. It felt lifted, almost felt lifted out of the pages of Toriyama's work, but I might be self-inflating too much there. Yes. Ooh, little keepsake gremlin box. This was a partnership with Warp Miniatures. It's more of a labour exchange than anything formal. I met Alex over at PeachCon. I mean, I've met him multiple times before. And the agreement was, I do a video for you, mate, to advertise these little gremlins, a little Kickstarter, and you sculpt 4 models for my upcoming tabletop game. Oh my lord. He sent over his new gremlin range for Ark World. I painted the gremlins and then made a little transport case for them. Yeah, this is like a project that I've had on the shelf ready to go since I started YouTube like 5 years ago or whatever. Like them little craft boxes from the works for like 3-4 quid each, and they just made it like slightly hardier than usual balsa wood. And I've had that on the table. I thought I'll do it with a kill team. Didn't do it with a kill team. Thought, oh, I'll do it with a Warcry group, warband. Didn't do it with them either. Thought, maybe I'll do it for a Frostgrave crew. There's too many models in Frostgrave. They won't fit in there. But I kind of walked up to him at PeachCon and I was like, yeah, let's do a video exchange of labour thing. And he's like, what you got in mind? Fuck, right, dig in the toolkit. Diorama keepsake carry box. Yeah, so it was there on the back burner ready to go just for the right instance, to be honest. Yeah, project turned out really nice. Teamed up with Gatehouse Gaming. to get some diorama materials on there, and that kind of really just brought everything together, brought everything to life. Fiddly as fuck. But with the miniatures magnetized, the case is solid enough for balsa wood, but nothing inside it will move, nothing will come off, nothing will break inside. So it is actually quite useful and practical, and it's only one miniature short of a Frostgrave warband. So if I put the other gremlin in my pocket, yeah. 2 armies in 24 hours, yeah, this one. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of planning your shit before you do it, so you know what to expect, when to expect, and how to expect. This was not planned. It was not planned very well. Or rather, I had the when down, I had the how down, but I didn't have the what down, if that makes sense. Yeah, like a good half of this stuff is stuff I'd not done before in terms of the materials that I was using. And normally when I do a project of this size or a lot of stuff on camera, I will do I've talked to people about it before, the rule of climbing, which is 3 points of contact at all times. 75% of what you're doing in front of camera is stuff you know. It's stuff that the results are predictable. There are very little variables. There's very few things that can go wrong, especially when you have an end date for project to wrap. And I did not do that with this. So what would normally be 25% of new experimental stuff, this was like 40, 50%. So I was just lumping paint on that I'd never used before, trying to get it to do stuff that it was not supposed to do. And just before I knew it, like 7 hours had gone on trying to do something that, if I'd leaned into some old tricks, would have looked close enough and would have been done in an hour. Yeah, useful thing to remember is the 3 points of contact thing, especially for my fellow content creators, because otherwise, I mean, we had a time constraint, so we had to get it in the right amount of time, but the amount of fucking stress and the amount of sat there with a hairdryer on resin models, just open, they don't warp, but they will dry, was not cool, man. But it did get me in touch with One Page Rules, and I got to sample their first physical release, showcasing a lot of the prototype PVC models that are pretty much up there with hard plastic. They're like 95% there. And I think that 5% is just the fact that it's come out of the box pre-assembled and it looks good, and I'm confused by it. Right, we are on to Halloween. Yeah, man. Again, this was something that had been on the cards for years. I just wanted to wait until I was technically capable of pulling this off before I did it. Ever since I saw the old Board James video where he's arguing with the Dragon Strike videotape, the Dragon Master, I knew that I wanted to take this further on my channel, and I kind of do an AVGN, Angry Video Game Nerd, love letter. This is kind of what this video is, I think, more than anything else. And I hope maybe one day he sees it. It'd be really nice if he did see it, because it's a culmination of everything that I've learned from watching him over the years, so. Yeah, so the gimmick was that we were going to tie in our ongoing Haunted Sea Chest mythology, and we were going to put ourselves inside the Dragon Strike semi-infamous legendary videotape. And it may just look like a load of blue screen footage, but Christ on a bike, this was 3 weeks of just solid, constant work. Matching my blue screen stuff and Tony's blue screen stuff and Hector's blue screen stuff with like forced 480 progressive video footage that was never very good to begin with. Fitting ourselves into the narrative was one thing, and finding room for us just in that cramped 4x3, we forgot to bring a wide angle lens kind of footage. It was just crushing stuff. To the point where I would just create whole new scenes in Photoshop and create pseudo 3D stuff in After Effects, and then shove it together, and then have to go back through it and make it look shit to fit the original VHS quality. Yeah, I was just using a shitty blue screen in my living room that the cat kept attacking. There's little sequences where it's wobbling and you can basically, he's behind it right there, just fighting with it and howling. And there were whole sequences in the video and the story that were important to make it work. Like all 4 characters come together on screen to do something, but I just took one look at the shots and thought, nope, I'm just going to explode myself into a bush so that I don't have to add myself to this crowd shot and save myself 45 minutes. Yeah, boom, cut print onto the next one. Now, one of the weird things that I didn't notice until I finished it and I was watching it with friends and family, like this thing has a full story arc with setup and payoff, from Tony's initial first line about going to the toilet to finding drugs up his arse and then using the drugs to unlock his super D&D character powers. And the superpowers are just straight up rip-offs of Space Sheriff Gaban, but whatever. Yeah, somehow this is probably the best thing that I've ever fucking made. And it's probably the best thing I'll make for a while. It was a nice comeback from last year's Halloween video, which was fine, but we had something else much more ridiculous planned with more money and location shoots and outdoorsy stuff. But time ran away from us and budget evaporated. So we kind of had to change direction and in 2 weeks bring the Alien 3 video together, which I still, you know, it's a nice enough video. But this one was kind of like a, right, we need to escalate and we need to up the last couple of years. So yeah, good stuff. And at this part of the year, I'm basically on fumes, and this year is no different. Like, I think the Halloween stuff, because I do it quite last minute, just takes it out of me completely. And then November, December is just kind of like limping on and staggering and hoping for some time off. Like, especially this year, where I'm working on that tabletop game that I keep mentioning and being aloof about. But I will say something more concrete when I have something concrete to show. Yeah. But also working on a video game prototype, which has been not too bad because I've not actually had any fucking time to do anything on it. Yeah, that's good. I'm taking time off in January to kind of lock in tabletop game, get that done, get all the assets, the sculpts, the illustrations, the cover art, the book together, and then kind of having then a package that can go off and be manufactured, and that can be, you know, can just be handled by someone else. Here's some money, go away. And the video game stuff, I do need to be very active with that in January. It's just a prototype build at the minute, but it does have some money behind it, purely production budget. And I can't really say anything about that, other than that it's part of a licensed IP, quite a large one. Yeah, I think I can get my stuff started and wrapped on it in January to early February, so that will be lovely to have that go off to agencies and whatever. So yeah, lovely stuff. Never done a video game before, by the way. I've done like film music and advertising and sound design for TV and shit for like 15 years. But the whole interactive angle, freaking interactive, it's the most 90s thing I could have said. The whole non-linear approach to it is new. So understanding that is probably the hardest part. Anyway, I then did an ELDAR or ELDARI video for no other reason that I just wanted to paint some ELDAR, but I also didn't want to spend days doing it. So I cooked up a nice 3rd edition looking paint scheme that I remember seeing in White Dwarf, which was all Wraithbone with some simple colour pops on it. I have already added to this army in my personal time, which was the point of this paint scheme. A unit of dudes can join the ranks in an afternoon on the workbench. That was the point of the paint scheme, and that's kind of what we got. Yeah, the video did what it was supposed to do. Hopefully it was useful to some people. It was mostly useful to me. Okay, space GITS. Oh yeah. Yeah, everybody's favourite member of the Lone Gunman, Gasland's Mike, came over. He brought his crazy new orc drinking game. We had a lot of fun. We had a few beers. It was nice to do something with, I guess, a client? Kind of, in person. We just kind of talked about his game. We talked about game design in general. Fuck me if that is the deck one more time. Yeah, we talked about his game, talked about game design philosophy in general, which was nice. Had a curry. Did some kit bashing or git bashing. Built some models, painted some models, played some games, had some fun. It was very different from what I'm used to, which is just ChatGPT emails. Yeah, the video has just a nice, cozy feeling all around, I think. Just 2 dudes just playing some orky fun times games. And then we did a cross-promotional thing, which caught a lot of people buying his game, the digital version, and it got a lot of people to join the Patreon community, and hopefully find a nice new little corner of the internet to hang out in on the Discord. Yeah, that'd be good. And hopefully you guys are going to stick around to take part in the Git Bash challenge that concludes at the end of January. using the random orc generator in the PDF. So that'll be fun to see what you guys come up with. And my original plan was to like pretty much end the videos there, do a Space GITS November, and then this one at the end of the year, but that would leave me December to do all that other stuff I had planned. That's not happened because our super best friends at Hey Gears said, do you want a little bit of Christmas money? Do you want a new 3D printer? I said, not massively, but okay, let's do that. Let's do that. It'll be fine. It won't take long. It took a bit longer. So I ended up making a video which was like half 3D printer review, but I don't know much about 3D printers, and half painting a 1/8 scale like statue, which I don't know much about. So it's kind of, I was saying this to my Patreon community today at time of recording. I was saying to them today, it's basically like 2 half videos that were never fully realized and don't really deliver on their purpose, and then bolted together, which I think is, normally that's the kind of thing that I can do quite well. But I think with just so little gas left in the tank and not being very well, it was the blend was just never going to come in the middle, I don't think so. But that's personal opinion. You know, you might disagree. You might think it's like some Scorsese shit or something. But I did overshoot that video to maximum. Like at the start of this year, I made the conscious choice to invest in some anamorphic lenses, which is what this one is now. And they come with a steep learning curve, and they're not designed for shooting miniature things or close-ups or products or anything like that, really. Like, probably the best showcase for anamorphics is like the Hitcher, the one from the 80s with Rutger Hauer. That's all anamorphic. Starman, John Carpenter, that's anamorphic. Like, what they do best is back away and have width, which is completely useless for miniature painting videos. So I have to do some quite janky things to get them close to the miniature. But that being said, if I hadn't shat the bed on the color grade on this video, I think this video would be very nice to look at. There are moments in it that look great. There's moments in it that look washed out, desaturated. It just doesn't quite work. But again, but I just need to use the lenses more and get accustomed to them, get a feel for them and do them right. So yeah, we're still learning, guys. And also, absolutely no one else in the miniature painting world is stupid enough to shoot their miniature videos on anamorphic. So I have to kind of stick with that gimmick because I've started it now. I think I mentioned it to Alex from 52 Miniatures once, and he kind of squinted at me. He didn't say anything for an uncomfortable amount of time, and then just asked me why. Just a look of shock and disappointment from Alex will really cut through to your soul. Yeah, so I think I'll be back at the start of February. I do need to take that time to finish Tabletop Game and to finish my commitments in the prototype build of video game. It's stuff that, if you've probably come across the discussion by quite a few content creators, that the ad revenue on YouTube has thoroughly, quite possibly, been halved over the last 18 months. Less people are watching, less people are interested, which is fine. That's a social thing, you can't really control that. And YouTube has, in response, obviously they don't want to miss their profit margins, so they've hacked content creator budgets. So I kind of need to do those things and get those things in motion for just, yeah, short-term workload, long-term survivability is kind of essential. So yeah, a month off to get those things moving and in place and doing their next iteration is what I'm going to do. Yeah. So with all that being said, thank you for watching my stuff this year. Thank you for being subscribed if you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, you could be subscribed. It's free. If I've met you at a show, if you've said hello to Health and Safety Frog, if you've got a free autograph, if you've bought a Hector model, thank you very much for being a part of the wider MS Paints community. And of course, big, huge, massive, superhero, mega thanks to my wonderful Patreon community who are keeping the lights on around here, keeping me fed, more importantly, keeping Hector fed and stocked up on Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I will see you next year, I think. Yes, next year. Happy New Year, everyone. Cheers. I'm out of here.